Redditors who have dated very attractive people but weren't that smart. What was the final straw? Such a gorgeous man but so dumb about health. After we had finished having one session, he asked me why I liked him to wear. I explained I didn't like that he wore them. Told him I preferred without a but was worried about pregnancy and STIs, and he was like, "Hey, I never knew that." Immediately went to go get tested after that and had him tested as well. Had to make sure to give him a lesson about the dangers of unprotected before I broke up with him. I missed his body and his raw animal dumbness sometimes, but I think I made the right choice. He's actually the reason I want to be a health educator now. Oh, and BTW, he hadn't caught anything. It was just dumb luck that he never did. Edit, missed a word. He thought women's breasts were always filled with milk and he believed baseline was an actual number. Wait. Laura? George Bush was receiving his daily report from his defense secretary, Donald Rumsfeld. During the report, Rumsfeld said, "And yesterday, 3 Brazilian soldiers were killed in Iraq." George suddenly went pale, put his head in his hands and began to sweat profusely. His staff were astounded. They had never seen the president react like this to such a small loss. Then, after he had recovered slightly, the president brought his head up and quietly asked the aide next to him, "Just how many in a Brazilian?" "I am actually marrying him in 13 days. I don't think he is dumb, he is very good looking though, but some of the things that he says come off as dumb." He said something as I was saying it, and when I told him I was just thinking the exact same thing, he said, "I have tilapia." After a few minutes of having him repeat what he just said, he finally said, "I can read your mind." He meant telepathy. He thinks the curb on the streets are called curves. He thinks raccoons are called ratcoons. He says the bottom line is, there are so many things, but I love them. He makes me laugh. Edit, I just thought of another one. We were playing Family Feud online and the question was something about naming a vegetable and he said fruits. This just happened, we were playing with our daughter's dinosaur train toys and though they were called carnivores because they eat plants/crops. This girl was definitely out of my league looks-wise, but she was proud of being stupid, petty about everything and annoying. But whatever, I was in my early 20s and for whatever reasons he liked me, so I went with it. Things seemed to be going fine, when one day she asked me why I always drink so much. I thought about it and realized that I literally drank every day I saw her, and never drank on the days I knew I wouldn't. I couldn't stand being around this girl unless I was drunk. Decided wasn't worth that kind of lifestyle and broke it off the next time I saw her. Wanted to actually be sober before I did it. Edit, yes, I meant she. There was no real final straw. It was more the fact that I couldn't possibly stand to be around her anymore. She was balls to the wall hot. Like, step over your own grandmother hot, although she could barely hold a conversation and once confused a bunch of 7-year-olds playing hockey on the professional rink for the actual game we were watching when in line for beer at intermission. When she talked, I either couldn't really understand what she was saying because it made almost no sense, or it was just the most childish joke ever. My youngest cousin had way sharper wit, but my God, she was hot. Hands down worst decision I ever made. Beautiful gal, she was, and amazing in bed. But a lot of the things that came out of her mouth just astounded me. I managed to put up with it for a while, simply because that was incredibly enjoyable, but at a certain point you take a step back and really think about the situation. The physical side may be fun, but not being able to connect with someone mentally in the long run is a grating thing. Oh, and the conversation of her believing that dinosaurs still existed, they were just hiding in the forests. That really did it in for me. Edit, for everyone bitching that birds and some other animals are technically dinosaurs, I understand that, but that's not what I meant. When I'm saying that she was talking about dinosaurs still being real and alive, I meant the type of dinosaurs you would see in Jurassic Park, etc. Not birds and some sea creatures that are descendants, I mean Tyrannosaurus, Velociraptors, Stegosaurus, so on and so on. He lived in his parents' basement at 21 and would frequently tell them they weren't allowed down there because it's his. The laundry room was down there. What broke the straw was the time he had trouble getting an erection, and instead of saying he was frustrated, he shook around his like he was having a seizure and screamed, "All I see is black." Edit. People are reading into the living at home thing too much. I'm trying to say he lives at home and claims to own half of the house. That's not normal for 21. I had a beautiful girlfriend once that a lot of people would think is dumb. Every time she said something ridiculous, I would just agree with her and carry it further as if we were both just joking in the same way. She would laugh and always had a great smile with big beautiful eyes. Whenever she got mad at me for something, I would just look at her and say, "I didn't say that to make you upset. Why would I do that on purpose? I'm always on your side." And she'd believe me. In fact, it's the truth, but so many people just can't get past the little peeves and annoyances. For her it was as simple as explaining that her BF was always on her side. For my part, whenever I started to get upset with her, I'd always internally compare what I was upset about to not having her, and she'd always win. In the end, she said she wanted to be free. No reason given. As her fiend, I'd always considered love as something you give, not get. So where I could have held on, I just let her go. You can't own people anyway, and I was only ever her friend. It's been years and I'm still the only person she's ever had a long-term relationship with, and she's still the only person I've ever loved that much. He was a model, but pretty dumb. I was getting ready for law school, but very inexperienced when it came to dating. We had a lovely time for a while, our chemistry was great. But he eventually ghosted me. A year later we chatted online to catch up, and he admitted to me that he felt that he wasn't good enough for me, and that's why he stopped talking to me. With more dating experience, I now know that we wouldn't have worked as a couple anyway. I realize now that dating someone of similar intelligence is more important than dating someone with superior looks. But damn, he sure was cute, and had a fantastic. She was a yoga instructor who was constantly getting attention from other guys constantly. I knew her through a mutual friend, and I suppose she found the fact that I didn't chase her appealing. Regardless, she initiated with me. We dated for a bit. Physically, we were very compatible. However, she was constantly demanding attention from me, and expected me to cater to her every whim while we were out, which I would to a degree, but never to her satisfaction. Because of her attractiveness level, her previous boyfriends would do anything for her at the drop of a hat. That's just not really my style. I wasn't ever disrespectful of her or treated her poorly, I just wasn't a relationship gopher. One night, at a friend's birthday even downtown, she kept telling me about how many guys were hitting on her at the location we were at. She became irritated that I wasn't up in arms about the whole ordeal, and that I should show more concern about how much attention she was getting. I responded with, "Should I worry about you going home with one of them?" She replied, "If you don't start acting like you give a, then maybe I will." My final response was, "Go for it." It may have been a little callous on my end, but I was really done dealing with that kind of. For me it was just that I couldn't connect with her on any level. She would read things on the internet and freak out, and I had to calm her down. She would ask me questions and not understand when I did my best to explain things to her, and the weirdest is she would just not get stuff. Jokes had to be pretty, in my opinion, lame or grade school level for her to laugh. Anything I did that I thought was clever, yes, I know, she wouldn't get, and I had to explain. She was a sweet girl, and she wasn't stupid, and she was wicked hot, but trying to have a relationship with her was work, all the time. Eventually I had to just let her off on her own, and hope some douchebag didn't promise her everything, and then just manipulate and control her. No happy ending here. She married an alcoholic wife-beater 8 months later and had 3 kids. Last time I saw her she looked like a broken person. Uneasy face. I still hope she can find happiness someday. She was a definite 9.5 to 9.7, but she had the social skills of a retarded hamster. She tried to be best friends with everyone instantly, which drove people away almost instantly. She couldn't maintain any female friendships. She used like a bargaining tool and gave it away too easily. She had no maturity or coping skills. She valued no one else's time or energy. The final straw was when she imagined that a guy outside the bar made a rude face at the bartender that she only knew distantly anyways, and this offended her, so she went outside and proceeded to stomp this dude on the shin. For no reason. I said that and bailed.